So my son loves fruit. And if you've ever gone to grocery shopping with him, you will know that he takes his fruit seriously. He likes grapes, strawberries, blueberries, raspberries. He just loves fruit. But he also has opinions about all of them. And not long ago, he informed me that the advertisement on the grape package wasn't telling the truth. Apparently, the bag said seedless grapes. But when he bit into one, he found seeds, and he was not impressed. Didn't stop him from eating them, but he said that wasn't what it was supposed to be. So in his mind, if the package says seedless, there shouldn't be seeds. He also has strong opinions about whether grapes are sweet or sour. Now, he'll still eat the sour ones, but he definitely prefers the sweet ones. And honestly, I think there's a lesson in that because fruit tells us something. When you bite into a grape, you expect it to taste like a grape. When you pick up a strawberry, you expect it to be a strawberry. The fruit reveals what's inside. And spiritually, the same thing is true. Eventually, what is inside us begins to show up in what comes out of us. Welcome to Makin Macon Encouragement Chaos. I'm Susan Rayner, pastor's wife, homeschooling mama, and your friend in the middle of the mess. Last time we talked about how fruit doesn't grow overnight. We talked about pruning, we talked about roots, we talked about God's process, but eventually something happens. Fruit appears. And fruit always tells a story. You don't have to walk up to an apple tree and ask, what kind of tree is this? The fruit answers the question. You don't have to wonder whether a peach tree is producing peaches because the fruit tells you. And Jesus said something very similar in Matthew 7:16. Ye shall know them by their fruits. Not by their words, not by appearances, not by what they claim to be, by their fruit. And I think that's something all of us need to stop and think about from time to time. Not with condemnation and not with guilt, but with honesty, shining a light on those little spots in our lives. Because if we're not careful, we'll spend a lot of time looking at everyone else's fruit while never examining our own. And the truth is, fruit becomes most visible when pressure enters the picture. When life's easy, it's not hard to be kind. When everything is going your way, hey, it's not hard to be joyful. When the bills are paid and everyone's healthy and life feels manageable, yeah, it's easy to talk about trusting God. But what comes out when life squeezes us? What comes out when somebody hurts our feelings? What comes out when we're tired? What comes out when we're overwhelmed? What comes out when the answer we've been praying for doesn't come as quickly as we hoped? Because pressure has a way of revealing what is already living inside of us. And I think that's important to understand. The pressure didn't create it. The pressure revealed it. Ooh-hoo-hoo-hoo. Yeah, you heard me say it. The pressure didn't create it. The pressure revealed it. If frustration comes out, the pressure didn't create the frustration. It revealed it. If fear comes out, the pressure didn't create the fear. It revealed it. If peace comes out, the pressure didn't create the peace. It revealed it. The squeeze simply shows us what was already there. And if we're honest with ourselves, that's not always comfortable. Because I've had moments where something came out of my mouth. Yeah, surprisingly. And I immediately thought, well, that wasn't very Christ-like. Maybe it was my attitude. Maybe it was impatience. Maybe it was frustration. And in those moments, God has a way of gently showing us areas where He still wants to work. Not because He's angry with us, not because He's trying to shame us, but because He loves us enough not to leave us where we are. That's why I think it's important to understand the difference between conviction and condemnation. We talked about this recently in our Bible study at church. Conviction says, God is showing me something because He wants to grow me. Condemnation says, see, you'll never change. One draws us toward God, and the other pushes us away from Him. One produces hope, and the other produces defeat. And friend, those are not the same thing. That's why David prayed in Psalms 139, 23 through 24, search me, O God, and know my heart. Try me and know my thoughts. That is a brave prayer, because most of us would rather God fix everybody else first. Take care of them, take care of my brother over there before you take care of me. But David understood something. If God reveals it, God can heal it. If God reveals it, God can change it. If God reveals it, God can grow something better in its place. Maybe He reveals impatience so He can grow patience. Maybe He reveals fear so He can grow faith. Maybe He reveals anxiety so He can grow peace. Maybe He reveals pride so He can grow humility. That's the work of the Spirit. And that's why the fruit of the Spirit is so important. We've already talked about this, Galatians 5, 22 through 23 in our previous episode. But the fruit of the Spirit is love, joy, peace, long-suffering, gentleness, goodness, faith, meekness, temperance. Notice again that it says fruit, not fruits. We talked about this. This isn't a spiritual buffet where we can just pick the parts we like and leave the rest. Ooh, I like that one. I want that one, but I sure don't want that one. That's not how this works. God desires to develop all of these qualities in us because every one of them reflects the nature of Christ. And here's the encouraging part. The responsibility isn't to manufacture fruit. It's to stay connected to the source. Jesus said in John 15 that He is the vine and we are the branches. Now, I've never walked outside and heard a branch grunting and straining and trying to produce fruit. It doesn't work harder. It stays connected. And because it's connected, fruit follows. That's what Jesus was teaching. The answer isn't trying harder. The answer is staying closer. The answer is remaining connected to Him, spending time in His presence, spending time in His Word, allowing Him to continue shaping us day by day, because whatever feeds your roots will eventually show up in your fruit. And maybe that's the question we should leave with today. Not, am I perfect? Because none of us are. Not, do I have it all together? Because none of us do. But what is my life producing? If people spend time around me, do they encounter peace? Do they encounter kindness? Do they encounter faith or patience? Not perfectly, but increasingly, because growth is still growth. And this whole conversation makes me think about that old slogan. Y'all are gonna laugh. Take a bite out of crime, which probably tells you exactly how old I am. But seriously, if somebody could take a bite out of my life this week, so the fruit that I'm producing in my life, if they could take a bite out of that, what would they find? Would they find evidence that God is still working in me? Would they see fruit that's becoming sweeter over time? Would they see signs that I'm staying connected to the vine? Because fruit tells a story. And eventually, it reveals what has been growing beneath the surface all along. I hope that this has encouraged you today. If it has, I'd love for you to share it with a friend who may need it. And you know that if you'd like more encouragement like this throughout the week, be sure to visit makinmacon.com or join our Stay Rooted email community that sends you encouragements every week straight to your inbox. And I've linked it all in the show notes below. But one thing I want you to remember is that I am always praying for you, even if I don't know who you are. God bless.